What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more r/AmIThe butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And if you're feeling extra spicy, you can click that join button down below to join up, or click the link in the description for Patreon and joining up there. And with that being said, let's just crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from Spiritual Media 3973. Am I the arsehole for refusing to be the family's IT girl anymore? I'm a 30-year-old female and I've always been the person who fixes all things electronic. To be honest, I have no technical knowledge whatsoever and most of my solutions are things I Google. My family is not very tech savvy, so for them, I am like that hacker man meme. I've learned some stuff in the way, but at the end of the day, I am still a user level in most things. However, for my family, I am the designated IT girl of the bunch. At first, I embraced that nickname, although I got urgent calls to answer why there's no internet. Mum, you have to connect it to the Wi-Fi network first to have it. This happened once in a while. Yes, sometimes these calls were annoying, but I could handle them. Things changed when the pandemic happened. Now my family is staying inside more, so they spend more time on the computer or phones. Now I'm getting these IT calls and texts all day. I'm working from home in a new job where I will be on probation for 3 months before they decide to hire me indefinitely. That means I have to do my best during this time. However, my family is so damn inopportune that they always need me when I'm on a meeting. I snapped when my mum called me because she needed help. I got like 10 texts without her saying she needed me because she wanted my IT help. I got nervous and I finished my meeting early. Maybe something bad happened to her. I call her and she tells me her neighbour needs help with a virus in her computer. First, since when am I helping strangers? Second, I don't know shit about viruses. That's so out of my league. Mum joked with my dad and sibling about this in our group chat about how the IT girl was kinda moody. Everyone joked about how I overreacted and all. Keep in mind I come from a culture where talking back to elders is not acceptable, so I joked and said the IT girl is resigning. Everyone laughed, but I decided this was enough. Now every time they call me asking for help, I say I don't know or say you should Google it. This has been going on for 1 week and now everyone knows I was serious. My family says I'm overreacting. My big brother says that he understands I am annoyed, but sometimes families annoy you and you have to deal with it. My boyfriend says I'm a bit of an a-hole, but sometimes you have to be one. Above all, when I am always trying to be the dutiful one. Some friends say I'm an a-hole because some people, above all when they are old, cannot grasp technology like us. I understand that, but it's not like my grandma and parents are completely unaware on how things work. They have tablets, each one, and smartphones. Also, I've had to explain the same thing over and over. I don't know, maybe I am the arsehole, it's such a silly thing. Still, I think it's a boundary I have to set. And there's a bit of an update with some questions, so it says update, I'm so overwhelmed by all your nice comments. I'm sometimes a pushover, so I needed the positive reinforcement. I'll answer some questions here just to give some final context. 1. Why do I have my phone around? And then says I usually text with my teammates during meetings and since I am still new at work, I don't have a separated business and personal phone. I plan to get a new one ASAP so I can keep talking with my coworkers and ignore personal messages during these times. 2. Why your boyfriend calls you an a-hole? I think I didn't make myself clear there. What he meant is that sometimes you have to be blunt, hence an a-hole in this context, to set healthy boundaries. He's not saying I am wrong here, he's saying that I have to be more assertive, even if that comes across as mean. 3. Where are you from? And then says I don't feel comfortable disclosing that because people I know like this Reddit and might connect the dots. But let's say my parents are immigrants. We didn't have the luxury to afford much technology until I was in high school. Still, I think they got used to it pretty quickly. Thank you again everyone, have a wonderful day. I was pretty much in this situation as well, the IT guy of our family. It doesn't sound quite as bad as this, but whenever there was a problem with IT related, I would get called up, phones, TV, just anything to do with technology. I was the person that they'd call. Often when they got viruses, I had to deal with them. It was just a bloody nightmare and it became too much. My mum, when she was here, was pretty bad for this as well. I mean, like if she had something go wrong with her computer, it didn't start up, blue screen, anything like that, she'd call me. Or simple things as well, like updating her system, updating the graphics card. And I'd say, sit down with me and I'll show you how to do it. And in the future, you can do it and get a pen and paper and then you can learn along the way. However, she didn't do this. She never done this. And so when she asked me multiple times to do the same thing over and over again, and I said, well, I'm trying to teach you, but you're not willing to learn. And I think that is the problem with this, is that people are not willing to sit down and learn. And they just want you to be there when something goes wrong, to use that knowledge just for that moment rather than gain it themselves. And that's why I would say you are not the arsehole in this situation at all. But Sheila Monarch says, been there, you are not the arsehole. Never be IT for family. They can figure out for themselves, just like you did. They just don't want to, but when left with little other option, they'll do just that or start paying for help with what they can't work out on their own. And Rainbows and Metal says, guys, this affected my job at this stage. That's not fair to me, and quite frankly, I'm feeling very disrespected. And CK Bruin fan says, not the arsehole, you're allowed to set boundaries and you shouldn't have to constantly help your family with issues like this. Does your family know your work hours? If so, then they should know not to message and call when you're working. And Rissy says, not the arsehole, your family. I think it's a great idea to disturb OP during work for an unimportant shit that will make her want to help us all the time. OP says, I need my job and my time. I won't do this anymore if you abuse my kindness. OP's family, shocked Pikachu face. You don't have to help them out in every minor IT crisis. If you can Google it, they can too. And now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Have you ever been your family's IT person? How did you deal with it, or do you still deal with it to this day? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Lion Bear 7. Am I the arsehole for considering adopting a 3-legged dog? Hello, background. So I, 23, have been wanting a dog my entire life. I have experience with them, from childhood family dogs to a dog my roommate adopted as a puppy that I shared equal responsibility for years, to dogs that I just lived with and observed. I'm really interested in training dogs. Even before I was seriously thinking about getting one, I read up on positive training and watched many YouTube videos on the subject. I got my first job out of grad school and have been fortunate to have the opportunity to ease into the role. I begin full-time next month, but I've been interning there for several months and have a good understanding of what the job will entail and what my hours will look like. I am moving, but my apartment is pet friendly and a really great space for a dog with a large backyard. Okay, onto the story. I wasn't looking specifically for a 3-legged dog or any dog in particular. I figured when something jumped out at me, I would know. I found him on Pet Finder and fell in love. I found him on Wednesday and couldn't stop thinking about him until Friday. I decided to inquire about him, and I literally pulled over the side of the road to write an email because I felt so strongly that I needed to. I began researching tripod dogs and found that their lives are not all that different from typical dogs, and medical costs after the initial amputation are not all that high except for bone and joint supplements. I got a call on Tuesday that they reviewed my application and I can go meet him today and begin to foster him if it goes well. I called my parents and asked them if he could come with me when I visited for Easter, and they said yes, but I didn't tell him about the leg yet. I just wanted a day to be excited. I called him yesterday and told him about the leg, and all hell broke loose. I am no longer allowed to bring it to Easter, and both of them called me for 30 plus minutes to tell me how terrible of an idea it is to get this dog. I'm going to ruin my life. Why would I even want a dog with 3 legs when there are healthy dogs out there, etc. I can't bring it to Easter because they don't want me to. So I found a friend to watch him for that day, but apparently hurts them too, since I put them in a position of having to say no. I am so upset. I am meeting the dog today, and instead of being excited like I was before, I feel guilty. Am I the arsehole? Edit dog tax. I'll post more up once I meet the pup. You guys have been so helpful and have made me feel a lot better about this. Thank you. And let's have a look at the dog tax first. 100% absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. If you hadn't done your research and you couldn't care for it properly, then you would be, but absolutely not in this case. It sounds like you know what you're getting yourself into, you've done your research, and you want to care for this animal. And please do. That dog looks like such a happy little soul. And your parents are arseholes to come in with this attitude straight away, just like that. I would consider just not going around to visit them just for that and say, look, you guys need to do your own research on this rather than just jump into conclusions because, you know, screw them. But Vango says not the arsehole. Furthermore, fuck them. Why hate on a 3-legged dog? I have a 3-legged cat that I adopted and she is a wonderful pet. The missing leg is a conversation starter, not a hindrance to my family or the cat. She wasn't born that way, by the way. She and her litter mates were tossed out of a car by some real arseholes. Only she and one brother survived. He had road rash pretty bad, but her injuries required amputating her front leg. And Cherry13 says not the arsehole. You're only the arsehole if you can't properly provide and take care of its needs. Otherwise it's awesome and quite admirable. And Mutin says not the arsehole for getting a 3-legged dog. A dog's love has no bounds regardless of how many legs they have, even more so when they are a rescue. You would be the arsehole if you got this dog and then left it at a friend's house while you visited your parents. What kind of person reacts like that to news about a dog? Would they react the same way if you had a child with one arm? If my parents did the same, I would refuse to go completely. And MM172 says not the arsehole. Frankly, I'd cancel the visit and tell them you'll see them again when they've done even a tiny fraction of research you've done into how little missing a leg impacts a dog's ability to live with a healthy, happy life. Also that you hope this isn't how they plan to treat any future grandkids who may wind up less than perfect. And now I turn this one to you guys. What would you do if you was going to adopt this dog and then your parents had that reaction? How would you feel about it? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Rockin' Joe's. Am I the arsehole for telling my neighbour I couldn't give a fuck about her unborn child and to take her package and leave? I'm 18. I have a really annoying downstairs neighbour who's never at home to get her packages and a DPD driver who delivers them to me to give to her. Said neighbour is early 20s and roughly 4 months pregnant. She's a major hypochondriac and I do strongly suspect Munchausen's to some degree. This morning, a package of hers got delivered to me and when I texted her about it, she said she'd come get it after work. She did, just except she spent an hour asking me about work and college, and just like every conversation, it got to her baby. She kept saying how she needs a C-section because she feels like she's too small, and that she's going to be breastfeeding because formula is toxic and kills babies. This went on for maybe 15 minutes, and at this time, I kept trying to say goodbye and that I have to study, but she kept on about baby. I got annoyed and said, "Look, Sarah," fake name, "I don't really give a fuck about your unborn child. Please take your package and leave." She did leave, but my housemate overheard and called me an arsehole and said she's just excited. Am I the arsehole? Now, from my perspective, and I get some other people are going to be totally different on this one, I would say, yes, you are going to be the arsehole. That was just too bluntly rude in my opinion. You could have said, "Look, I just have to go now," which would have still been rude in some respect, but at the same time, you could have ended the conversation like that. You didn't go, "Look, I don't give a fuck about your unborn child." That was just like way too far in my opinion anyway. And I know some people will see differently and they think, some people just need the blunt end of the stick, which I do get sometimes, right? But I don't think that was the right in this scenario. But Paper Cardboard Mud says, "You're the arsehole. Obviously that's annoying from her, but you didn't have to be so damn rude." And Kiki says, "Yes, you're the arsehole, so your neighbour is being friendly and making conversation with you. How awful," /sarcasm. "I think you need to apologise to her, and don't be surprised if she slams the door in your face. Your behaviour is horrible. I also very much doubt that at 18, you're even remotely qualified to diagnose Munchausen's." And Doc just says, "You're the arsehole. It sounds like she thinks she's your friend if she's regularly chatting with you for an hour about your lives, etc. There was no reason to be rude. Next time just give her her package and then say, 'Sorry, I need to get back to studying. Have a good rest of your day,' and close the door, rather than engaging in a lengthy conversation and then lashing out since she didn't read your mind that you weren't interested in talking." And then Lost in Indigo says, "Not the arsehole. Honestly, people like this irritate the hell out of me. Sometimes it takes someone being rude to them to learn that they need to stop holding people captive. Me and my friends call people like this punishers. They suck and you can't win with them. If you're so egotistical and self-obsessed that you are talking over someone who is just trying to get back to their life and gently asking you to let them do so, literally physical standing in their door blocking them and keeping them from going back to what they need to do, you probably need a little bit of a wake-up call. You can only ask somebody nicely so many times. Like theoretically, you were impolite for saying what you did, but she was incredibly impolite, violating your boundaries, being in your space, ignoring repeated requests to leave you alone, etc. Once she starts breaking the rules, she can't expect people to follow them for her, right? Good on you. Sounds like you were doing the Lord's work and maybe she has stopped holding people captive." And Righto Bobo says, "I'm going, not the arsehole. If what you just told isn't far from the truth, if she was badgering you for close to an hour, going on about things you don't care for while you have to study, let alone you trying to end the conversation several times prior, I'd argue an outburst like that would be the only way to get rid of her." And now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation and how would you deal with it? Would you cut her off? Would you be rude? Or would you find a different way to approach the situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, our next story comes from Kay the Gay. "Am I the arsehole for refusing to take my cousin to a clinic and instead being with my dog? I have an 8-month-old rescue Irish Bernedoodle, who is for the most part pretty calm, but will have a major case of the zoomies every few hours. She can't be left alone yet though. My grandma, who I live with, also recently had hip surgery, so she can't watch her. Now the issue is my cousin, we're both 16 female, found out she was pregnant a while ago and doesn't want to tell her parents. Only today told me she needed a ride to the clinic for an appointment she made a few days ago. She only told me that last minute and assumed I would drive her, which I would have if she had given me a heads up. Now if my grandma was home I probably would have been able to take her, or if she'd given me a heads up I could have made arrangements. So I refused, saying that I won't leave my recovering grandma alone with a dog that needs attention because she didn't plan ahead. I also said that she needs to get her shit together. This made her cry about how she can't have her mum find out and just wants to get rid of it so the stress and lies can go away. I also told her she brought this upon herself. That made her yell at me that I want to ruin her life by making her keep the baby. I honestly couldn't care less what she does with her body. I'm also very pro-choice, and just berated me about how I'm choosing my dog over her and her needs. Am I the arsehole? She ranted to one of our friends who's on her side and said I'm the arsehole. One thing to elaborate on is although my dog is somewhat calm, she's a rescue that I got a couple of months ago and can't be left alone yet. Crates also aren't an option as she came from an abusive household where they were used. She's terrified of them. And we do have an update to this post as well, so we'll cover a couple of the comments before we move there. So Monica Donut says, "You're the arsehole, your cousin is in serious crisis. Yes, it would have been better if she made other arrangements, but she's not in the steadiest state of mind right now. You could have easily taken the dog with you and waited in the car, maybe taken it for a walk in the meantime. If your cousin was just wanting to ride like on an average day, or even to do something like a concert or other event, I'd agree it was on her and vote not the arsehole, but this is an extraordinary situation and it calls for more generous response." And OK Sympathy says, "Everyone sucks here. She should have planned ahead, and this is one of those situations where, yeah, technically, you don't have to help someone, but a scared pregnant kid who needs a ride to the abortion clinic was asking for your help, and you said no mostly out of pettiness. Your dog can be alone for a few hours, even if it has the zoomies. I hope that next time you're in a tough situation, someone helps you instead of telling you you brought this on yourself." And Turbulent Letter says, "You're the arsehole. Yes, she could have planned better, but the poor girl is in blind panic. What she is about to do is her choice, but it will not make everything just go away. She's going to be raw about it for years. I know whereof I speak." And to add to the dash of Poppy messing about, and to add the dash of "you brought this on yourself" is horrible. Your dog would have been fine for a few hours. Both of my dogs are rescues from abusive homes. Get a dog gate, put her in a room with food that she can see out of. She may be a little uncomfortable, but not as uncomfortable as a poor 16-year-old family member that reached out to you for help." And now let's go straight to the update to see what that says. So it says, "My post didn't get a lot of attention, but the overall consensus was that I was the arsehole. One user helped me understand that even though I made it clear at the beginning that I would support her no matter what she chose to do, my actions that day probably didn't show that to her. That person also gave me an idea of what to do to make things right. Well, I called her the day after and apologised. We scheduled her another appointment that was today, and another for later this week for a doctor for some sex ed. Her appointment went fine, and she's feeling a lot better. We got takeout and made today a movie and spa day, so overall, we're good now and she forgives me. And for the dog thing, one user suggested I use his treats to get her comfortable in a crate, which is somewhat working so far. Lastly, please don't send me any more rude and slightly disturbing messages saying that you hope I get pregnant. I'm 16, I'm going to make mistakes. I just need to fix them and or take responsibility for them and do better." And Gammon replies to that saying, "I read your original post and did land on you're the arsehole, but not for not driving your cousin. For telling her off for not planning ahead in a crisis, but I fully understand why you can't leave a skittish rescue dog with an elderly lady who just had a hip replacement. That would have been instantly dangerous, and I think you made the best choice in a hard situation. Your cousin was in a crisis, yes, but she wasn't about to lose her life or become seriously injured if she had to wait a few more days. If your dog knocked over your grandma, it could have been fatal. You've done great making amends and helped her out in the end. Very mature for a 16-year-old to make that decision in my opinion, and even more mature for admitting you were wrong and fixing it." And one more from Snottage Fest saying, and quoting, "And for the dog thing, one user suggested that I use treats to get her comfortable in a crate, which is somewhat working so far. And then says, one of the best tips we got was to fill a Kong with softened kibble. Just soak it in water or broth for a few minutes and freeze it. Spread some peanut butter on the Kong, feed it to your pup in the kennel. Do it for as many of their meals as possible. Since the Kong takes a while to finish, it helps them adapt to being in the kennel. Don't close the door for the first week or so, just get them used to the kennel." And a great tip there as well. But what do you guys think of this story and this update? And how would you deal with it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories. And if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it really keeps this channel moving forward and pushing on. You inspire me to do more every day. So thank you so much for being you, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.